Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
We are so proud to have the Dillon Law Group as our show sponsor. And did you know Dillon Law is an attorney on the Miller versus Bonta case, fighting to remove California's ridiculous restriction on rifles? And if you have legal matters that involve firearms that you need to call an attorney, call John Dillon. Especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. That's John Dillon, specializes in California gun laws. 760-642-7150. Or you can visit his website at DillonLawGP.com.
John Dillon's the best, man.
Man, he is amazing. We got to get it back on again. He's so busy.
So we had our summer picnic last week. It was amazing.
What?
You're looking
at Mike's Barbecue?
At Mike's Barbecue.
And I missed it?
There was such a big crowd. I don't know. Were you not in the crowd?
Dang.
Yeah, we had.
That was Thursday. Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes. Honest to God, you're not going to. All day Wednesday, I kept saying there's something I got to do Wednesday night.
Well, you and I even.
Well,
that was the day
flustered. We were all flustered.
That was the day you took me for a ride in the Bronco.
We were all flustered. Folks, I got to tell you, this guy got in this 2021 Bronco.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he wasn't in the seat more than a minute.
Yeah.
He's I got to have this. And I have to agree.
The new Bronco is pretty amazing, folks.
Yeah, see, I do that with guns, so I'm happy I don't do it with cars.
He does, too.
I don't do. Listen, I don't really fall in love with cars.
No, he does.
I really don't. I'm a Jeep guy. I love my Jeep Wrangler. But I would get rid of my Jeep and my Buick, and I would get this Ford Bronco. Listeners, this is not your OJ's Ford Bronco.
No.
New Ford Bronco.
This looks like a 67, 68, retro Bronco. I think they did a great job.
My wife asked me what I liked about it. It is the perfect combination of comfort and rugged.
Yeah, and versatility,
ruggedness. It is perfect.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if it's as capable as a Jeep, but you can take it, 95% of the places you can take most Jeeps. Yeah. And it's extremely comfortable. Yeah. You can have it. We were actually having a conversation on the freeway.
Yeah, without screaming at each other.
Yeah, so Jeep lovers out there, that's something you're going to have to get used to, the ability to speak to your passengers on the freeway.
I know, it's crazy. So,
I loved it.
What you got scheduled today?
So we got a whole bunch scheduled, but let's talk about the picnic.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So the picnic, we had a couple hundred people at the picnic.
Oh, no wonder you didn't know I was.
Yeah, it was overflow. If you came to the picnic, thank you so much. If you were in the overflow room, thank you so much.
If you were outside, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We may have bit off. That room looked a whole lot bigger before there were
funny thing how
a whole lot of people in there. But Mike's Barbecue took really good care of us. Carl DeMaio was there to talk about the recall. Everybody listening to my voice right now, not only do don't just vote yes. Don't just vote yes. You have to get other people to show up and vote yes. There's so much to be done. Don't wake up on September 15th.
Because they're already cheating. They're already cheating.
You got to get listen, don't let here's my issue with that, Dave. When you talk about cheating, I've seen so many people throw their hands up in the air and say, I'm not even going to try, they're cheating. You cannot take that mentality.
Yeah, you should take that as inspiration.
Yes,
they are cheating and they have started. So get out and do something.
Mail it in.
That's right. So there are people working on the election integrity, but if you don't show up and if you don't get 10 people to show up, you have to. We got to win this thing. If we don't win the recall, we're not right back where we started. We're even worse.
Yeah, we're way worse. And there's polling booths all around your neighborhoods that you can physically take your ballot in, or if you're really concerned about your neighborhood, go to the registrar's office.
Yep, you can drop it right off.
September
14th. Yeah, so vote. But here's the thing. Vote and get other people to vote. I can't say that enough. Call us, email us, reach out to us on Facebook. If you don't know how to help, we can help you help. Reform California, Carl's group, they're doing an enormous job. Even if you're not a Republican, the local GOP are doing some things, but do something. Do something.
And I heard, I had Joseph Luciano on at 1 o'clock, and he said the envelope has a hole in it that they purposely put in there to see what did you vote for, yes or no.
Okay.
I know.
Skip the. I don't care. Just vote. Yeah. Don't. There's not a conspiracy. There's not. Just vote. Get out there and vote. Get your buddies to vote. Vote.
Yeah, and there's lots of stuff you can do. I mean, Nina's been working with Carl DeMaio's group, and she's been making phone calls. She's got a carload of signs that she's been giving out to people. So there's lots of stuff you can do.
If we don't win, it is not because there was a conspiracy or something like that. If we don't win, it's because you didn't do enough.
That's right.
And I'm talking to every single San Diegan out there.
Every listener.
Every one of you. This is the pride. We're actually going to talk about that in the mic drop a little bit.
If you're not happy with California, don't worry about it. But if you are not happy with California, vote.
Gun Prom, we actually just had to halt sales. We're over 900 people already.
Oh.
So this is the last week. If you want to pick up a ticket and go individually, you can go. We're working on settling all the tables, but basically this is the last week. Come, I think Wednesday night, we're going to shut it down. So if you want to buy a ticket to Gun Prom, it's only $99. It's not $150. We cut it down to $99. It's on October 16th. Go to gunprom.com and you can buy a ticket. This is it. Last few days, and you're not going to be able to get in. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we've exceeded. We were hoping for 800, Dave.
I know.
And now we're at like, what are we at, Joe? When we talk, we're at like 915.
I heard 850 last time, but I'm just hearing 9 for the first time.
Yeah,
today,
we're over. Wendy and I were doing some work, and we're over 900. I think we're gonna get as close to 1,000 as we can. But we're now over 900, so we had to shut it down. So last chance to get an individual ticket. Also, Magnum.
How are your tables?
We have something like 98 tables or something like that.
So you have to stop the tables too.
Well, what we're gonna do is we have we have a number of
champagne, wine.
We have a number of people that are committed, saying, "Yeah, I'm going to buy a table." We're going to go back this week and say, "Look, now or never." Because if you can't do it, we got to move on. But for now, you only have a few days left to buy individual tickets. If you haven't paid for your table yet, pay for your table. Get a hold of me. Let me know that, I want that table, and let's get it all figured out because we're definitely running out of time.
Wow.
So.
And where's it going to be?
Town and Country, down in Mission Valley.
Going to feed us?
The food's delicious. The food is delicious. That was last Gun Prom, which has now been 2 years. That was one thing everybody it was kind of a surprising thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I go to a lot of these, and this was
it's
actually
not rubber
good.
Chicken.
Yeah. So the food's going to be good. The entertainment's going to be good. Everything's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our Magnum episode where I interviewed Dr. Piazza from Front Sight, that's up on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/Gun Owners Radio, you'll be able to see. It's about a 45-minute or hour-long interview with Dr. Piazza, and he's a pretty interesting guy.
You sound like Tucker Carlson.
Do I?
Just go up on Fox Nation. It's only about a 45-minute interview. And
yeah.
It's very engaging, and you'll really like it.
You got to play the 10-minute version here, though.
That's right. That's what he does.
I don't have a bow tie.
He doesn't have a bow tie.
He used to, Tucker.
I know.
When he was getting famous.
Have you read his book?
I haven't. Was it good?
I don't know. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I haven't got it yet, though. I'm looking forward to reading it.
It's probably pretty good.
He's quite the guy.
He is a hoot. He's one of those guys. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't even agree with the way he says it sometimes, but I think he's really interesting.
But you watch him every night at 5 o'clock.
I do. I do. I don't have cable, so I got to watch him on YouTube. I just watch the clips, but I watch him. I think he's.
But you're right. Sometimes he'll say one thing, and then you listen. Then he'll play the clip that he took it from.
No,
that's not what he said. It's what he inferred, maybe, but that's not what he said.
He does this thing where he takes what other people says very literally, and it's funny. It's hilarious.
He's a hoot.
It's not as good as us.
So we teach our kids to swim because we don't want them to drown. Why don't we use the same approach when it comes to firearm safety? We're going to talk about it next.
But first, self-defense in emergencies can happen to anyone, and there's no guarantee that the justice system will be on your side. Gun owners should have coverage for the legal battle after your self-defense battle. And while you protect your family and property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year, with comprehensive self-defense coverage at an affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does our coverage. Guess what, folks? Gun Owner Radio listeners get a free T-shirt when you join. Use promo code GunOwnersRadio at uslawshield.com. All right, who you got for a special guest?
Well, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, I was taught gun safety from a very early age. Although I was saying that of the 4 rules, I only remember learning 2. The treat every gun as if it's loaded, and don't point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. I don't think I learned the keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and the know your target and what's beyond until.
I didn't know about those 2. I knew about the first 2.
Yeah.
I knew about the first 2.
But I think we've gotten pretty far away from teaching gun safety and hunter safety and any kind of firearms training. So
Derek LeBlanc must have thought the same thing.
I think you're right. So he decided to start an organization called Kid S.A.F.E Foundation, S-A.F.E. So we have him on the line here to talk about it. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming on here. I think this is really interesting. Okay, so the organization is Kid S.A.F Foundation. What does S.A.F stand for?
So the S.A.F is an acronym for Safety Around Firearms Education.
Oh, cool.
So everything we do is about firearm safety, accident prevention, inside and outside of the home, also anti-bullying, all sorts of fun and relevant things when it comes to safety to our kids.
And you started the organization?
I did.
Wow, that's very cool. What's your background?
So my background, I became an NRA certified firearms instructor in 2014 after I was, put in a dangerous situation when I was unarmed. And basically, I found a guy inside of my vehicle. I fought with him on the ground for about 10 minutes until my girlfriend came out and saved me with a pistol grip shotgun in my driveway.
Holy cow.
And so from that point, I became a gun rights advocate, obviously because we're good people with a gun, that we stopped the threat without even firing a shot. And so I've used that to kind of educate and empower others. And, in the beginning of my career, I realized that I was exposing kids to a potential hazard inside the home. And so I started, looking at programs and, being from where I'm from, and, there's one, by the NRA, but I was concerned about how well it received it'd be. And so I started developing my own.
Okay.
And so that was
let's go back to that incident. So there was a car he was in your car in your front yard?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what had happened is I was going to work on a Sunday morning, and it's when we set the clocks ahead because of, spring ahead.
Yeah. And
so what had happened, typically I live in West Eugene, which is it's a left of center area in Oregon.
Yeah.
And I normally take my gun out with me to clear my vehicle just in case. And on that morning,
really?
I left my gun.
Wait. Slow down. Okay, so that's a normal part of your day is to take your gun with you to make sure that your car is safe in Eugene, Oregon. Is that
Absolutely, yeah. And it's more of a insurance type thing. It's not like I'm ever expecting for it to happen, but I have that with me, typically. And it was that one day that I didn't. I left it on my kitchen counter. And that's when I needed it. And I remember vividly to this day as I left the threshold of my door, as I was going out to my vehicle to warm up my vehicle, that I thought to myself, I should really have my gun. And I thought, well, it's a Sunday morning. What's the worst that could happen? And so I hit my transponder. And as soon as I opened the door, I noticed there were some feet exiting the rear passenger window of my truck. So this guy was doing a little barrel dive out of the rear of my truck. So I ran around the hood of my truck. He was getting up, and he was pretending like he was a CSI. And he said, I noticed your window was broke out. I thought I'd check it out for you. I didnn't fall for it. I immediately swept his leg.
What a nice guy.
The ground. Yeah, he was great until I got on top of him, and that's when the fight began. And, that was terrifying for me because I didn't know if he had a needle or a knife or any kind of weapon that could potentially harm me.
And he was just he was just some dirtbag who was trying to take change out of your car, whatever.
Absolutely. And what he had done is he had hit the whole neighborhood, and, he just picked the wrong truck. And so, we fought on the ground for, 10 minutes, which seemed like an eternity. And all while I was yelling for my girlfriend at the time to get my gun. Luckily for me, the way I had taken him down and put him on the ground, I put him down hard, and I had what's called the full mount on him. So, I had good control from the top. And, so I was just kind of riding him. and fighting with them and punching them in the ribs.
Were you a high school wrestler?
No, it was more instinctive, really. It was just I automatically reacted, and the most terrifying part is once I put him on the ground, because I was like, now what? and so she finally came out with that pistol grip, with her cell phone and a pistol grip shotgun around the hood of the truck, and at that point he had given up, and she called 911. The cops came about 8 minutes later, so we're about 20 minutes into this whole ordeal, and nobody woke up.
Did you marry that girl?
Oh, no.
No, I was going to say, that would have been enough for me to propose right there.
Well, I told her we'll always have the internet, so.
Okay, so let me just run through real quick. So there's a couple lessons here. Number one, I learned that I thought Eugene was kind of this quiet little,
community.
This quiet little Eugene, Oregon's where isn't that where the Ducks? Isn't Eugene a college town?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a quiet little community, but you're clearing your car every morning. That's amazing, number one. Number two is that one time you left your house without your gun. I can't tell you. I've been carrying concealed for less than maybe about 3 years now. And I can't tell you how many times I was just going to step out and go to the store or something like that, run a quick errand. And I thought, you know what? This is going to be the time. Go back and get your gun, put it in the holster, do what you're supposed to do. So I think that was a pretty important lesson learned right there.
Absolutely. And that totally changed my life, changed, my mission for my life. And, as much as it was a traumatic experience for me, I really, I owe Sean, I forget his last name, but I owe him actually a debt of gratitude, because it's really kind of put me on a different path.
He set you on a path. Good for him.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he got his life together, and I hope that all worked out. So let's talk about that path. So you got experienced. You got you're a trained firearms instructor. But what triggered you? No pun intended. What triggered you to start the Kid S.A.F.E Foundation?
Well, it was early in my career. I was working with parents that were new to firearms, and so I was concerned about, obviously, them making a mistake and, potentially one of their kids getting hurt inside the home, and so, there was one program available by the NRA, but I was concerned about, how well received it'd be in my area. And so I started doing some research, and I started developing my own. And it took about 2 years of hard development, and we became a nonprofit in 2016. And we've reached about 22,000 kids in 5 states and taught them these life-saving skills.
Okay, so what exactly did – so you were saying that the NRA has a program. Were you talking about the Eddie Eagle program?
Yeah.
But I found that too. If you live in a Oregon is not the – I don't know. It's not exactly a red state. It's kind of a purple state. It's pretty blue in some areas, right?
Yeah.
So the NRA, there's a bit of a stigma. And I found that too in California. I don't know if the listeners in San Diego here know this or not, but California is a bit of a blue state. I found that the NRA. And I used to do a lot of volunteer work, and NRA has a bit of a stigma, and it would stifle the good work that I was trying to do. So you're saying that hey, going and saying hey, I want to do this NRA program, that hindered you.
Yeah, and I think it's just because of that stigma. Obviously, I wanted to get quote unquote butts in the seats.
Right.
And if I was kind of advertising an NRA program, I felt like I would kind of limit my reach. I didn't want to reach just 5 kids. I wanted to reach 500 or 1,000.
And what exactly do you guys do? What exactly does Kid S.A.F.E Foundation do? What do you guys teach?
So, basically, it just depends on what class we're doing. But, if we're doing like a kids firearm safety 1 class, these are typically held in a local Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop or, any place that gives us access to children and be able to recruit people to come out from the community. But we're teaching them, obviously we're teaching, the 4 basic rules. We're teaching the parents about proper storage of the firearm when it's not on them. We're also talking about video games, video game violence. We're also talking about anti-bullying. And we're also teaching the kids about real firearms. And so I'm actually handling these guns. I'm showing them how they work. And you'd be surprised how many kids I meet at a young age that, they've gotten all the information about, an AR-15 from, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is kind of unpack their minds and say, hey, there's a cause and effect when it comes to our firearm if we're not careful. And, so and then also I'm reaching to the parents and talking to them about online safety, which, the last year and a half, 2 years where everything's been online, there's another avenue for, predators to reach these kids. So it's everything's about, the safety of the kids and, giving the parents good information that they can, implement inside their homes.
Well, the Call of Duty thing, kids, I've noticed there's a whole, the generation, I'm 45, the generation behind me, their exposure to firearms is, video games, computer games.
Yep.
And it's kind of good and bad, right? I mean, it's good that they're being exposed to the culture. It's bad because it's just not the best source of information. It's certainly not the best use of a firearm. But I think what you're doing is you're taking that and harnessing it and, pointing it in the right direction. What's the reaction been from people in general?
Oh, it's been overwhelmingly successful just because of the way we're able to present the message, and it's an apolitical one. We don't care if they have guns or don't like guns or are afraid of guns. We can't be naive and think that our kids can't come in contact somewhere. In urban environments, there's kids that come in contact with a firearm that's disposed of because of a criminal. And so, they're still going to have access to the firearm. So it's our goal is to have a very easy, common sense, conversation about the safety and what those kids are supposed to do if they come across that gun, and I think, as our message continues to grow and we reach more kids, that's going to drive those numbers down. Right now it's, before the COVID, it was, 8 to 9 kids per day across the country are shot with a firearm. And that's from the CDC.
I'm talking
so
Deborah McNeil.
That's way too much. That's way too much.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to fix.
Okay, great. This is a really interesting conversation with Derek LeBlanc from Kid S.A.F.E Foundation. Hang out with us, Derek. We're going to go to the commercial and then come back.
Blackhound Optics, accurate, affordable, guaranteed sporting optics that go the distance. Backed by customer service that goes that extra mile. Great guys, great products, and a great company that is making optics affordable. On top of quality optics, they pay close attention to the customer experience. Did you know their scopes come with mounts? So you don't have to worry about finding out one that fits. We are so excited to have them on as official partner of the show. Ask for them at your local gun store or find them online at blackhoundoptics.com.
All right, we're talking to Derek LeBlanc. Sorry, I keep messing that up. From Kid S.A.F.E Foundation. Kid S.A.F.E Foundation. When you guys teach kids gun safety, you've been around since, I think you said 2015, 2016?
2016, yes.
2016, and you've taught how many kids in that time?
22,000.
Holy cow.
States. Yeah, and another thing that's kind of unique about us is we actually teach them on the range as well. And so we follow up our number 1 class with the number 2, and we get to fire, rim fires. So that one's a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay, so you're in Oregon. Are the 22,000 kids, are these 22,000 kids in Oregon, or what? How does it work? How does a kid learn from Kid S.A.F.E Foundation?
So basically, it's everything on the West Coast. So Washington, Oregon, California. We just got back from Hawaii about a month ago, and we've been in Arizona as well. So basically, wherever I go for a conference, I set up and do a class, and we reach the kids of those communities.
So a community, group or whatever, they say, hey, we want this class, and then you schedule it and come out and deliver the curriculum?
Yeah, typically wherever there's a Bass Pro Shops or a Cabela's, I'm a pro staffer for them. So that's typically where we're going to hold our classes that are out of state.
Okay. Have you done one up in what's the Cabela? Is it a Bass Pro or a Cabela's up like the 10 and the 15?
Yeah, I know the one you're thinking.
Is that
of.
Ontario?
Can't think of the town now.
I don't remember what it is. Have you done much in Southern California?
No, we've been in Northern California. We've been near Anderson. We do a boat and sportsman show there every year, and that's in Northern California. What's interesting to me is you have a lot of guns in California.
A lot.
And you have a lot of guns that parents don't talk to their kids about, and so when we're down there, the parents are really thankful for the education, but they don't think about it because every gun that they potentially own is illegal because of a pin stroke. And so it's interesting it's kind of a different culture down there.
So what's the plan? Like what's the ultimate result that you're looking for? We teach 22,000 kids about gun safety, about safely using a gun, the function and purpose, that sort of thing. What do you hope will happen with those 22,000 kids?
Well, those 22,000 kids, we're hoping them will have long, happy, successful lives. And they're going to tell their friends, and they're going to protect their kids or their friends, because they're not going to want to show their friends their parents' guns, like show and tell. That's how a lot of kids are hurt. And, I did write legislation in 2019 that would have authorized our program in all the public schools for first graders here in Oregon. So the goal would be to, expand to Washington, Hawaii, Missouri, any place where we can do it, through statute, where we can introduce what we're doing to reach those kids and do it that way legislatively.
So what's 22,000 kids? That's amazing. It's a fantastic goal. I'm so glad you guys exist. What's the success story?
So a success story, obviously, there's a lot that are not published, because they are kind of sensitive. But, one that really sticks in my mind is, when it comes to, talks about our anti-bullying component of our program is there was a kid, I taught a class a year and a half ago or so to some Cub Scouts. There's about 41 Cub Scouts in that class. And about a month went by, and I got an email from one of the mothers. And, in this part of our program, we're talking, if they're ever, bullied, we're teaching them, how they de-escalate that situation, how they get a parent involved. Well, anyways, this young child was threatened by a bully at school to bring a gun to take care of him. And luckily he remembered our training, got his mom involved. She called, law enforcement, and they actually stopped a school bus on the way to school, and there was a gun in the backpack. And, that was at a middle school about 15 minutes away from my house. So it's something like that never hits the paper, but it's something that, everybody involved, like the parents that, had kids on that bus, they all know. And it was pretty traumatic for a lot of them, but it was proof that, proper education can save lives. And so that's why we have to have these conversations.
This kid was bringing a gun to school because he was afraid of a bully. Is that, did I hear that right?
No, it was actually the bully that was bringing a gun to shoot the kid that was being bullied.
Oh my gosh!
And
I hope this
and
kid
so
got the help he needs.
Yeah, me too.
Good
And
Lord.
It's a really scary, but it's a really important reminder about proper storage. If the parents properly store their firearms, and I don't think we should have more laws saying that we have to secure our guns, but I think we should, make it a better habit of securing our guns when they're not on us.
Common sense.
The likelihood of that happening.
Common sense. Yeah.
Hey, Derek, I'd like to back up a second. You said you helped write legislation to get your program introduced in schools in the first grade. Did I hear that? Yeah. Did that legislation actually get passed, and they're doing that now up there?
No, we got a public hearing. So in 2019, there was about 37 anti-gun bills here in Oregon. And so there was, one monstrosity of a bill, and then there was our bill. We got a public hearing, which what we did there is, we learned a lot from the process. We were able to, get the other side, on the record, and we opened up a national dialogue when it comes to the safety of our kids. And the bill that I wrote on an iPad in a coffee shop on a Sunday. And basically it was so simple. It was so easy, it was turnkey. And it was something I put a lot of time and effort and thought into penning. And it was just one page. And that's, we don't need 2,500 pages in these bills.
2,700, I think, is the key.
Average. Is that the average?
Yeah, well, 2,700,
2,700?
then they could pass it without reading it. So that's the way to go.
Oh, yeah.
But are you guys going to keep going with that, Derek, or is that
Absolutely.
stopped? Outstanding, because that's what we need. We need more of that in the schools, or we need some of it in the school. We don't have anything now.
Well, that's the plan is just to give the schools options when it comes to the safety of the kids. And what you've been talking about, we're talking about water safety. I modeled this program similar to water safety because we teach every kid in the country how to swim. And that's the same principle behind our firearm safety program. It's education for every kid. And I mean, we're talking about Latin kids, we're talking about Russian kids, Japanese, Chinese, kids that, speak with American Sign, education for every child.
So what's been the biggest challenge?
Probably the biggest challenge is probably the funding. Obviously being a nonprofit, it's definitely challenging. And, so we have some great sponsors that have helped out along the way, but, to get to that next level, obviously we need help from the community and the firearms community. So I'm hoping in the next, within the next year or so, we'll be able to go national with our program. We're in the final, legal part with trademarking and copywriting, all that jazz, but we're getting so close.
Interesting. So what do you guys do for fundraising, or more accurately, how can people help?
Well, you can like, comment, or share our page on social media. You can find us on our website. There's a way to donate there. You also can find out about the stuff that we're doing. And you can also, we have some pretty good blog posts there that kind of talk about different things to think about when it comes to the safety of your kids. And we're always looking for, big sponsors that can kind of help us share our message.
So you're in year 5, I think, right?
Yep.
What's been the most surprising thing that's happened or about your journey since you started?
I think the most surprising thing for me is to see these kids, and when I do different events and they come back every year, and just watching their growth and how they still remember what they've learned because of the way they enjoyed the class and the way we're able to engage with them when we're doing different events in public. And knowing that, education, if done properly, it will do more than any kind of law when it comes to restriction. And so we should be focusing as a society about, proper education as opposed to more restriction.
So I don't know if I've talked to a lot of people that have taught 22,000 kids in 5 years.
Or just been around 22,000 kids.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids.
Mind my asking how old a guy you are?
I'm 44.
Okay, so we're the same age. We both grew up in the 80s, and I'm sure watched Red Dawn.
Probably likes Red Dawn.
Probably likes Red Dawn, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see?
So what's the biggest difference between the 22,000 kids you've taught in the past 4, 5, 6 years and, kids growing up in the 70s and 80s?
I think we've kind of softened as a society. And, the reason I do what I do is because I'm concerned about the Republic. And I feel that the future of the Republic does depend on our children. And that's why I think it's important that we, reach them at a young age and teach, facts over fear. Right now, fear is being driven by the media, stuff that is not necessarily the truth is being misrepresented as the truth. And so it becomes truth. And that's kind of, as the gun community, we have to do better when it comes to kind of countering these half-truths and showing, the proper way to do things. And I think, with, what we're trying to do with the kids is obviously get them involved at a young age, teach them about safety, discipline, and respect for firearms. And so the likelihood of, something tragic happening, they're diminished quite a bit if done properly.
Is there something that this generation does better than the previous generation? Is there something you see in these 22,000 kids that you think, man, that's actually better than, 1980?
Well, I think the way they are able to access information, they have information coming at them so fast because of technology. That's something, our generation is, we're learning, but these kids are learning at 5 and 6 and 7 years old, and they're kind of, light years ahead of us. And so I think it's important as gun owners and as the gun communities, we're using that same technology to our advantage to reach the kids and do it in an effective way where we can, get them into, our kind of our basket when it comes to the 2A community.
Interesting. All right. So how do people find you? Tell us a little bit about tell us what your website is, and then tell us what you want them to look at when they go to your website. Okay.
So you can find us on our website, kidsafefoundation.org. There's actually 2 S's in there. It's KIDSSAFE foundation.org. And you can just check out our blog, check out, some of our success stories there on the website. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok as well.
All right, buddy. Hey, it's been a great interview. Thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you down the road, see how things are going. And if you ever get out this way, we've got a great gun prom coming up in a couple of months. That ought to be something you didn't be involved
There
in.
you go. October 16th. Yeah.
See?
If you can make check out gunprom.com. If you can make it, you get a free ticket, man.
Sounds good. I'll check it
So
out.
force-on-force training, what is it and why is it good for you?
But first, did you know law-abiding gun shops and manufacturers have their accounts shut down because companies like Shopify, PayPal think guns are inappropriate? Well, shutting down a lawful business is wrong, which is why we are so excited to welcome 365 Glacier Payments. They are a 10-ring partner. 365 Glacier Payments specializes in serving companies in the firearms industry. And if you have a firearms business and accept credit cards, give them a call today so you can enjoy the peace of mind that your accounts won't be shut down and also enjoy the best rates. Visit their website at 365glacierpayments.com. All right, we have a special guest.
We
Ken
do.
Stretz from Stretz Tactical. How you doing, Ken?
Good, guys. How's it going?
Excellent.
So you are a firearms instructor. You've been on the show before, obviously, and you're a firearms instructor. You have military training. You have law enforcement training. You've also taught classes for 511 Tactical's ABR Academy, and you've done some live fire collaboration with Rick Hogg of Warhog Tactical. My first question is, how cool is the name Warhog Tactical? I mean, honestly, is everybody in the industry a little jealous that their name is not Rick Hogg? Because that's about as cool as it gets.
So Rick's head now, next time he's over my house, I'm gonna have to put some lube on it so it fits through the stuff. But no, joking aside, Rick is a great dude. And so there's actually a little bit of a story behind the Warhog thing. His company was originally something else, and someone's like, hey, man, you got to put your name in it. So he combined Warhog with kind of the premise of, the A10 Warthog.
Right.
So a little bit of the Warthog type of thing. So, yeah, it's definitely cool. It's not as cool as Stretz Tactical, though. I have to say that.
No, of course not. Now, you're coming out. You're actually going to teach classes. You're teaching a force-on-force class. You're teaching a one-day tactical shotgun, right, out here in San Diego?
I am.
When's that happening?
So October 23rd is one-day force-on-force out at Academy, and then the one-day tactical shotgun is the next day on the 24th. But I was watching you guys on YouTube before, and you had Biden on there talking about just buy a shotgun, 2 blasts in the air. So you really don't need to come to the shotgun class.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Is that pretty much the class curriculum right there? You just kind of...
Yeah, so I pay Biden to come in, and he says, hey, step out on the balcony, fire 2 blasts, and that's it. And I collect your money. We all go home.
You're good to go.
Hey, Ken.
By all.
Ken, do you guys use the Biden targets in your class where you got the bullseye on the knee?
Yeah, because that's a really easy target to hit. We move the target back and forth to make it realistic for you.
So talk about if someone does take the force-on-force class, what are they learning?
So force-on-force is truly where the rubber meets the road, right? So I wouldn't say, like, if you just got your gun today, step into the force-on-force class tomorrow. Somebody that's got a class or 2 under their belt, outside of the welcome to owning a gun class, a couple of defensive or tactical classes, wherever you want to call them, and you're comfortable with drawing a gun from concealment, reloads, malfunctions, all of that stuff. So you have that base skill set when you come into force-on-force. So force-on-force, for people who don't know, guns that are either modified at the factory or aftermarket with conversion kits, they're real guns, and they'll fire a paint projectile. So they have a shell casing and a primer and a colored, detergent, basically, so they'll wash out if you're worried about your clothes. And, you can shoot, like a real gun. You can use your real holster that you use for concealed carry, and then we put you in these scenarios. You could be in a liquor store and it's getting robbed, or carjacking scenario, home invasion. And instead of just shooting at a paper target that doesn't shoot back, that doesn't think, that doesn't move, now you have to deal with a living, breathing, thinking human being who's shooting back at you. And when you get hit with these things, it really hurts. I have a welt on my hand from, 5-6 years ago that never went away, a scar. So you got to wear protective gear. You got, a helmet, you got groin protection, stuff like that. So there's a pain component to it, where you get shot once or twice with one of these, you're not going to want to get shot again. And you're going to go through a full day of that. So
that's cool.
There's really a payoff to not get shot, to do the right thing. And then we put you in scenarios that, hey, maybe you shouldn't have gotten involved. Maybe you should have been a good good witness, right? But then, we can't let you just walk out like that because you're really not going to test your skills. So there's going to be scenarios where you really have to get involved. Or, you think you got to get involved, and then we throw a twist in that you didn't see coming, and you're like, yeah, I should have paid attention in the briefing. So we'll start the class off with a little bit of combat mindset, some stuff I've experienced, personally in the street as a cop, and friends of mine that have been involved in things or things I've responded to, or just maybe some things I've seen on the news, right? We'll give you kind of a, hey, this is how you should approach it, because I can't teach you what to think, if this, then that, because there's too many variables in something that could happen to you, right? So the only thing I can do is teach you how to think. And how to think is by putting you in these scenarios, and you call it stress inoculation, right? The stress of having to think, not wanting to get shot, wanting to do well, and a little bit of our ego as gun people, right? Like, oh, I'm a gun guy or a gun girl. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to rock this scenario. And you get in there, you start getting nervous, and you start second-guessing a little bit, or you're not sure what's going to go on because something's going to happen. But it might be a scenario where nothing happens, and we just kind of see how you react.
Yeah, if you've never, I'll tell you, listeners, if you've never taken any kind of class where someone's shooting back, or if you've never at least played paintball or something like that, whole new world, whole new development of a whole new skill set, a whole new mindset. When someone's, it's not even like compared to like IPSC or IDPA, those targets don't shoot back, and it's extremely, extremely valuable. I'm glad you're coming out to teach that. And you're doing a one-day tactical shotgun, and I have a shotgun question for you. I'm starting to ask every shotgun expert I can. I'm asking them this question. I like to make things really complicated. And I like to, if everybody's thinking or doing one thing, I like to push back on that. And so this question is a combination of both those things. So I've noticed that, of course, everybody uses shotgun for home defense or self-defense typically has some kind of buckshot. I mean, there's a couple of, variables. Some people like this, some people like that. But most people use double-aught buck. So what what's becoming really popular is the flight control, so that those 9 pellets stay really, really, really tight. And I've noticed, even with non-flight control from my Mossberg 500, when I go to pattern my shotgun, you don't really get any kind of spread until you get at least 10 yards out. At least 10 yards. You get a nice tight grouping. And then even at 15 yards, it's still fairly tight. And, of course, for home defense, 15 yards, unless you're making a lot more money than I am, you're not going to have a lot of shots in your house that are more than 15 yards. Here's my question. If that's the goal, to keep the 9 pellets, tightly in there, why aren't we promoting slug more in home defense shotguns? Why don't we all just switch to slug?
So there's a couple of things, right? So, yeah, if it's just home defense, okay, I got it. But as far as the slugs can overpenetrate. I went to a homicide one time. Dude shot a guy through the car window. That wasn't enough. Pulled him out, stood over him, shot him in the head. Top of his head looked like a can opener. Opened it up. His brain was gone. There was a piece of the skull like 20 yards away. What happened to that slug? We never found the slug. We didn't even find his brain. It just decimated it, right? So now you're going to deal with overpenetration when you're talking about a slug. Even reduced recoil slugs, I've shot them in the bulletproof vests. Sometimes they stop them, sometimes they don't. Generally speaking, no. Full power slugs will always go through a bulletproof vest. So you really got to worry about overpenetration with that. The other thing with the shotgun, and 2020, 2021 has showed us this, is yeah, maybe you're going to use it in your house, but what happens, what were the attorneys in, I can't think of their name, Missouri or something, when the people came in their gated community and
St. Louis.
Outside? Yeah. So what happens when you have your home defense shotgun and now the situation that you never thought in a million years, and I'm sure they never saw that situation coming, a year before that, what happens when you end up outside and now you got to take a shot past your pattern buckshot, that 7-yard shot or whatever your vestibule or longest shot in your house is. If you always train, and I hear people say, with the handgun anyway, 5 rounds, 5 yards, 5 seconds, that's going to be the standard I have to train for because that's the most likely situation I'll find myself in. What happens when you train to that standard, but you find yourself in a situation that's, a minute and a half, 3 people wearing body armor, which we've seen a lot of body armor out in the street, in the last, year or two. And I've seen it before in my career. What happens when you find yourself in that scenario you didn't prepare for? You're better off training for the worst case scenario you couldn't even imagine, so that when you find yourself in that, 5 yards, 5 rounds, 5 seconds, or whatever home defense situation you find yourself in, I don't want to say it would be a piece of cake, but, it's kind of like, I spent time in the Army, right? More sweat and training, less blood in combat is kind of the premise there. So you should train harder than you need to, or harder than you think you need to. So then if you ever find yourself in that situation, you'll shine. You won't just survive, you'll thrive.
All right.
Okay, how do people sign up for the class?
Sure. So they just go to StretzTactical.com, STRETZ Tactical.com, and I believe there's a, I don't want to quote discount, but I believe there's a Gun Owners Radio discount.
Listener discount, 10% if you, for Gun Owners Radio, listener discount is 10% if you enter Gun Owners Radio, and members get 15% off. Right, Rich? Did I say that right? Okay, good. I said that right. Also, what we want to do is get some law enforcement folks into your class. So we're trying to sponsor some folks to go to the class. So our law enforcement training scholarship, you can donate at gunownersradio.com. You can give to that scholarship, and we're going to get Ken to teach some law enforcement guys. Ken, thank you so much. Give your website one more time.
StretzTactical.com, STRETZ Tactical.com.
All right, buddy. Good luck.
And this year's best and worst status from gun owners. What do you think? Did California move up, down, or stay the same?
But first, maybe you've heard of Mike Lindell and MyPillow. Well, his company was banned because he stands against the cancel culture mob. Well, our freedom of speech is just as important as our freedom of self-defense. We are thrilled to support an American company like MyPillow. Go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code FREEMARKET3. You'll get up to 66% off America's best pillows. Get a great night's sleep and enjoy the satisfaction of supporting companies fighting against cancel culture. That's MyPillow.com using promo code FREEMARKET3. All right, Joe, what do you got for us?
What I got is the best and worst states for gun owners. But that's interesting, though. I didn't know Mike Lindell got canceled by cancel culture, and They say cancel culture doesn't exist. So,
oh, that's right. How does that
So
work?
he must not be canceled, really. So, I was looking, Guns and Ammo magazine does a little thing every year where they go through and they rate the different states in terms of how they are for gun owners, which states are the best for gun owners, and then all the way down to California and the others.
I didn't know they do that every year.
Yeah, it's an annual thing. So, which makes it every year.
That would be it.
So, I was reading it, and I thought, this will be a good one to just kind of write about and bring it up, just to show people that don't have access at the moment to Guns and Ammo magazine. So it's interesting if, people like us that are immersed in this stuff, I mean, the results aren't real surprising. You could probably guess, the top 5 and the bottom 5.
Yeah, we're in the top 5.
But, it depends on how you look at it, right? It's perspective.
You're standing on your head.
So, I thought I'd just bring it up and talk about it for a little bit. And, the country's not in bad shape in terms of Second Amendment. I mean, part of it, we live out here, as John Dillon says, we've been institutionalized, right? So we've been abused for so long that, everything's terrible. And, we have kind of a skewed view, and then you put the media on top of that and the extremists that are in charge at the moment. And it seems like things are bad, but when you actually take a look at things are not really that bad around the country. There's pockets, but, most of the states are pretty reasonable. And what Guns and Ammo does, or Guns and Ammo magazine does, they go through and they rate the states, and they look at 5 different categories. And then they give states, you can score from 1 to 10 points, depending on how you are in each of the categories. And so, you've got 50 points total. And Wyoming, and there was a number of them, actually, I think, that were tied. But Wyoming is number 1, and, with all 50 points. And so the top 5 good states, not surprisingly, are Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and then Arizona. And, they go through and look at these different categories. And the 5 categories they look at right to carry. So they evaluate the state in terms of do they issue concealed carry? How difficult is it to get a concealed carry? what's the cost to get a concealed carry permit?
How long does it take?
How long? Well, yeah, I didn't see how long, but I'm guessing they're looking at that too. Should be if it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe they're listening. And the cost, the training required, and all that. So they rate states on that. The second area is black rifles, and do they have restrictions on
Explain
rifles?
a black rifle for maybe people that don't know.
So for the most part, black rifles are going to be AR-style rifles, things like that, the so-called assault weapon. And they rate states on, do the states restrict firearms based on appearance? Because that's really what it is. It's not based on functionality. Right. So do they restrict firearms based on things like a collapsible stock, or do they limit the magazine capacity and that kind of stuff? So that falls under the black rifle category. Then they look at the National Firearms Act, the National Firearms Act from 1934, I think it is. The thing, that's the federal law that regulates machine guns, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, suppressors, things like that. So they look at that and say, okay, does the state put any further restrictions on the restrictions that are already there from the federal government? So they rate them on that. They look at castle doctrine. So does the state have those kinds of laws? Do they have a duty to retreat law? Also, within that, they look at does the state provide protection? If you're involved in a defensive incident, a self-defense incident, are you protected from civil liability if they decide that, okay, no crime was committed there? Because some states do that. A lot of states do that. A lot of states don't. And then, actually, I should say a lot of states do that. Some states don't. And then there's a miscellaneous category for things like the overall gun friendliness and the culture, preemption statutes. So are localities able to write laws that contradict the state's laws, things like that? So different states handle those kinds of things differently. They look at the availability of shooting ranges, competitive shooting opportunities, so those sorts of things. So they go through and rate things like that. So we mentioned the top 5 that were there. If you look at the bottom 5, anybody want to guess what the bottom state is?
California.
Oh, so close.
Massachusetts?
No, actually. No.
Oh my gosh.
But you're all in that you're in the bottom 5.
Illinois.
So all the way at the bottom is the state from our second favorite governor, or former governor, I guess, New York.
Oh,
is
it's like I'm not even.
Yeah, why wouldn't you have thought that?
It's like I'm not even trying here, Dave.
Well, you're not related to Sam the gunman, that's for sure.
Sam would have. Well, yeah, I don't know. Sam might have known this.
Let's ask him that.
But well, it's interesting because my guess would have been Hawaii, because again, Hawaii, from what I hear, is just terrible. Nobody's got a gun. They don't issue. They have all sorts of bad things in Hawaii. But New York was the worst. Then Hawaii. Then Massachusetts. And then my home state of New Jersey. And then California was number 47. And it was interesting, too. I was looking at the just the scoring because, like I said, Wyoming was number 1. That was the best place to be, and that scored all 50 points. Mm-hmm. Any guess with California, what they scored in total points?
Where was New York?
New York was number 51 because they count D.C., so New York was the worst. California was number 47.
And out of, I don't know.
So, and Wyoming was number 1 at 50 points. Yeah. So California scored a whopping 10 points.
10?
Yeah.
How did we get that high?
And, there were some below us, obviously. But, I think we scored, what did we score in? Because we got some points in something, and it was like the miscellaneous section or something like that. But just a handful of points, though. We never really, I don't think we scored above 6 in anything, and we got several zeros, So that's what you would expect. And, it's interesting.
Well, the left would like those numbers.
Yeah, but again, if you look at, they started doing this in 2013. And, for instance, in 2013, there were 3 states that were what we call constitutional carry now, that allow people to carry without a permit. And now, just 8 years later, there's 21 states that do that. So things have changed quite a bit. We're over 20 million permitted concealed carriers. So, I think the mood of the country generally is pro-Second Amendment. It's moving in that direction.
Well, it's being pushed into that.
Well, I think people feel that way. I think what you don't see is, because the media won't report that. We've got we've got a whole political party that's made it their goal, I guess, to disarm Americans in the country. And although they've gotten sidetracked now with this last week's fiasco.
And you're going to talk about that when we come back, if I'm not mistaken.
We should talk about that when we come back, yeah.
Well, it says right here, Joe Germisi.
Does that mean, am I getting was that the hook?
That's the hook. Read your paperwork, son.
Well, before we go, AK's R, who's listening, wants to know what choke I was using when I was talking about my shotgun. He wanted to know what choke I was using. It is it's a 20-inch barrel on a Mossberg 500, and it's got a full choke, not variable. It is a full choke.
That's what I have to. Yeah, turn the page.
This past week, we saw the Taliban take over Afghanistan. I think I've seen that movie before.
I did too.
And the first thing they did was disarm the population because, according to the Taliban, quote, they can now feel safe and no longer need personal protection. Let's talk about it.
But first, PRMI Mortgage, folks. PrimeRes.com/Alpine. Are you in the military? Are you looking for help with a VA loan? Or if you're just looking to buy, refi, or just consider a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust, Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Give Chris Wiley a call at 619-722-1303 or just go to primeres.com/Alpine. All right, Joe, it's all yours.
I'll talk about, it's interesting. I hadn't seen that until I took a look at this from Reuters, though, that comment by the Taliban official.
I hadn't either.
Because that's a familiar, we've heard that before, right? You don't need guns. You're safe now. We're here.
That's weird that there's a Taliban official. I didn't realize they were that organized.
They even have their own Twitter.
I know, they're on Twitter. Trump's not on Twitter.
No,
the Taliban's on Twitter.
The Taliban is because they're more honest and straightforward.
They're within the community standards.
Yes.
The Taliban.
The Taliban. Yes. My goodness.
The ones that aren't beating Americans and keeping people from the airport.
No. They're not beating Americans. They just show the passport. the sea opens up like the Red Sea, and then they just go right straight to the gate and get on the plane.
Their tweets are very polite.
They are.
There you go. It'll be very interesting to see what.
Have you been following this pretty closely?
Yes, I had a little bit. Not close enough to see the Reuters report, but yeah.
Yeah, you and me both. And I thought I was
aside from that.
Good too.
Well, I think in general, I think a couple things can be true. Number one, it was time to leave Afghanistan,
without a doubt.
Well, hold that thought because I'll talk to you with that one.
All right.
Go ahead.
No. Well, all right. Well, so I think what I'm about to say, number one and number two can be true side by side. Number one, it was time to leave Afghanistan. Number two, the way Biden left Afghanistan was a complete and total disaster, failure of epic proportions.
But he was trying to fulfill a campaign promise, and that I know, but that was to get the military out of Afghanistan, and that's what he tried to do. He just did it in the wrong order.
Did it all wrong.
Yeah, because the last couple of presidents have said that. That was one of Trump's goals, was to get out of there completely. And President Obama wanted to do the same thing.
But don't you think those military advisors must have told him, say, sir?
They say they did.
We need to leave the military to last.
Well, see, and that's the thing, because Michael's point, his first point, where you were saying that it was time to get out of there, and I would have agreed with that completely up until a couple of days ago. And what I didn't realize was that, okay, we were there, but we had, they say, about 2,500 soldiers or something like that there that were mostly non-combatant type soldiers. I mean, I'm sure there were special forces people doing different things, but for the most part, the regular soldiers were training and advising and assisting like that.
Right.
And we had not had a casualty there in 18 months.
Right.
I think, and I wanted to look it up because I wrote about this last week because I was telling you guys I'm publishing on Substack nowadays. So at getagrip.substack.com. So what I'm doing is writing more stuff. So I'm putting the Second Amendment stuff on there, but I'm also writing other stuff that's not not appropriate for our site. So I stick it up there too. Mm-hmm. But I was writing about, will this impact Joe Biden and the presidency? And one of the things that I wanted to look up, and I didn't get around to it, but I know we lose soldiers in training accidents every year. And just because of the nature of the stuff they do, it's dangerous, and the training is dangerous. And I don't know, I didn't get to see what the number is, but I'm sure it's bigger than one every 18 months. And what I was, the thing that made me think about this was leaving a force there of 2,500 mostly non-combatant people is not that unreasonable if it helps that Taliban army keep everything under control, or that government stay under control there. Because we keep, I don't know how many troops we have in South Korea, which kind of keeps South Korea together. We do the same thing in Germany. So it's not so bad to have troops there. It's bad if the troops were in combat the whole time.
The problem there is it would have been fine if that military base was still there and intact.
Well, and that's the second part of it. Okay, if you are going to pull them out, okay, at least pull them out, because we have 15,000 Americans or so unaccounted for over there. I think that was
I've heard as high as 40.
Yeah, it could be. Well, plus not only the Americans, but everybody that supported the Americans, the Afghans,
and they're all
there.
over the country. They're not just by the airport,
right? So by leaving, there's not a good way, even if the administration now decided, okay, we need to go back in and help these people, which doesn't sound like they're doing.
They don't know where they're at.
There's no good way to do it. And so that
doesn't make any sense to me. It literally doesn't make any. There's something we're missing.
They're not telling us.
There's some way we're misunderstanding a story or a headline. There are 15,000 Americans in Afghanistan. We don't know where we are or where they are, and we can't get them.
I watched
on the surface
two press events. Both Milley and Kirby said specifically, we don't know how many, and we do not know where they're at.
I don't know how many people need to get fired if that's real, but a lot. I mean, truly,
there's a lot of people that need to get fired or resign.
If it means what it sounds like on the surface, that there are 15,000 Americans in Afghanistan and we don't know where they are and we don't know how to get them out. There's no end to the amount of people in the Pentagon and the State Department that need to get fired, like ridden out of town on a rail. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've never served. I've never been in the military. I've never been to Afghanistan. I've never been in a war zone, unless you count Tijuana. So, but I can tell you, the stories I've heard and the things I've read. I mean, you were in the military.
Yeah.
You both were in the military.
Right.
Well, these aren't military people necessarily.
No,
I mean, there's support people. There's people over there that were working in schools. There were people that were doing all sorts of other kinds of work that are Americans.
But to get in there, who was in charge of Afghanistan? It was, the military. It was a military state, a U.S. military state. So what I'm saying is, when when they knew exactly what equipment was in your boot locker, right?
Oh yeah.
And when
they would come and inspect.
Yeah, you get inspected. There were lists upon lists. There were
the
lists
soldiers,
of lists.
But they're not going to know that for civilians that are there doing.
If they don't, then they all need to get fired.
That's the
embassy.
What I'm
saying.
See, now that's the embassy's fault, not the military's fault. Would you not agree?
Well, and I think the civilians too that are there take some responsibility.
Well, they need to register,
but they need to know what's happening. We didn't even tell our allies this was happening. I don't know if you were following that. France, Great Britain, none of those guys knew.
We didn't even tell the Afghans we were leaving.
Boris Johnson tried. It took him from all day Monday to try to get a hold of. This is the leader, the Prime Minister of
England.
Of Great Britain, and he tried all day Monday, finally made contact with Joe Biden Tuesday evening.
Joe was on vacation.
They said they didn't know. And something else I didn't realize either, there was it was a big NATO operation. They said there was over 7,000 NATO troops over there supporting what we were doing. So there were people from France, or troops from France, from England, from different countries, and they were kind of blindsided by this, and they were pretty upset. If you're watching, if you follow the news reports now, the stuff that you're hearing from the foreign newspapers, the English newspapers and stuff, is much more
involved,
harsh and critical of what's going on here than our newspapers are.
Well, and the NATO troops were actually going out into the cities and bringing their people
That's
back.
what they said. That's what France and England said. Yeah, they were sending their troops out there to try to find people.
And we don't know where ours at.
And that's what I'm saying. And I don't know how many, they're maybe doing what they can do, and because I haven't seen numbers on how many of their people are out there.
The horse is already out of the barn.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Once they did this now, it's hard. Even if they decide they want to go back in, that's going to be a tough thing to do.
Well, and now they're planning next week to go fly in and bomb all the military we left there.
Oh, that's a great plan. Thanks for that.
You don't think they?
Yeah,
first we just told them, And just for picture, I don't know if you've seen the photos of all the
various equipment. And,
but do you think they're just going to leave that there? I mean, the minute that the picture's over, hey, here's yours, here's yours, here's yours.
I did read an article. You remember the Plot Against the President movie? There was a guy in there. His name was Kash Patel.
I watch him all the time. He's my new best friend.
He's very interesting. He's very intelligent. I read an article. He did an interview where he basically said, well, here was our plan, and they didn't follow it at all, and it would have solved all these problems.
Yeah.
So apparently the Trump administration left a plan that they feel would have been more successful.
Sure.
No matter what, it was, leaving Afghanistan was going to be a mess.
Yeah.
But not a catastrophe on this level. So he made the case that, hey, look, our plan was to do this, this, and this in this order. It would have kept the airport intact. It would have done this.
But it had the word Trump across the top of the plan.
So they just ditched it.
They ditched it. I mean,
I'll bet you a part of Trump's plan wasn't Afghan civilians falling from cargo jets. I'll bet you that wasn't in that plan.
Well, they say, too, and, the Biden administration keeps quoting the, May 21st date, I think is when Trump said they'd like to be out. But Trump's date was conditional. It was, it was based on what's going on over there. So we would like to be out on the 21st if the Taliban has this and we have that. And, if those conditions weren't met, they probably weren't going to do it. But, getting out of there, it's one thing to get out of there and see, because they say we train the Afghan army and equip them based on how our army fights. Mm-hmm. So that means they have air support. That means they have intelligence. They have stuff to deal with. When we pulled all that, which is what happened, of course they collapsed. Yeah. And, Biden saying they just weren't willing to fight. And I think they said they've lost over, 50,000?
60,000.
Troops, 60,000 in the last 20 years fighting
the
Taliban.
All the allies and all of the military people that fought with these Afghans side by side are furious over that statement because President Biden made it sound like they just chickened out and ran.
Well, from what I've read, the military that in Afghanistan that the U.S. was training was horribly corrupt. They were, their middle management leaders were taking payoffs and leaving people out to dry. It was a disaster. It seems to me, and again, I'm not an expert, but when something like this happens, it seems to me you have one of two choices. And when I say something like this happens, it keeps happening. This keeps happening. Yeah. So it's going to happen again. It's happened multiple times. This isn't a one-off. But it seems like you have one of two choices. Bomb the heck out of them for 6 months and get out of there.
And be done with it.
Or know that, hey, we're going to be here for like 3 generations.
Well,
one of the two.
Who's the guy that both his legs were amputated?
Unfortunately, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. Johnny, he's on Fox all the time. He said made it perfectly clear. If they have a rifle, you shoot them. End discussion. And then move out. He says you can't trust these people, no way, shape, or form, and we're letting them come to the United States totally unvetted. They're landing in military bases as we speak. Crazy. Hey, we're so proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates, offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training for the nation's top instructors, and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. Learn more and go to nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. So, Mike, what has been the most challenging part of starting all these local gun packs?
That's a big question. We started San Diego first. It was always in the plan to have more. Orange County, L.A., and we do. We have more now. But we started off with San Diego literally with nothing. We didn't have a dime in the bank. We had nothing. And I walked away from a very secure, good job to do it. And there's been a lot of challenges that I didn't expect. I think one of the big challenges has been that some of the Second Amendment organizations that we've heard of and some of the people that run these Second Amendment organizations that you all know, I'm not going to say the names of the organization or the people, but they've been hostile towards us, hostile towards San Diego County gun owners, hostile towards me, even after meeting with them and saying, hey, we want to work together. We want to try to do this plan. It's a simple plan. We just want to get people elected and the local boards and councils across the county. That's all we wanted to do. We're not trying to step on toes or take over anything. We're not doing this because we felt that other gun organizations were doing a bad job. We're just trying to add to the plan. And some of the, again, pro-Second Amendment organizations have tried to do more damage to us than some of the anti-gun organizations, which is bizarre for me to say, and it was bizarre for me to see. So, they've kind of done some back channel gossip about, us being corrupt or whatever, that we're not in it for the Second Amendment and that sort of thing. And that's been tough. Firearms Policy Coalition is one organization that stood by us from the beginning, and I can't tell you, we've done great things, and we're continuing doing great things with Firearms Policy Coalition. They didn't tell us how we should do things. They just said, hey, how can we help? And now we're filing lawsuits together, and it looks really good, and think good things are happening. So I think that some of these other organizations see us as competition and see us as a threat to their revenue source. I'm not sure, but maybe just their power and influence. I'm not real positive. And unfortunately, we've had some problems with up in Orange County. We had an issue with a volunteer who said he was in the Marine Corps at one point. Turns out he wasn't in the Marine Corps, and that's a problem. And but he's a volunteer. Somehow that reflected on our organization. And, it's not fair. That's, a lot of our members and volunteers do a lot of things in their personal life. None of that has to do with the Second Amendment, but they, use that against us. And that's unfortunate. Down here in San Diego, one of our volunteer leaders got into some issues. He was basically saying, hey, if you want an off-roster pistol, then go to this police officer over here. He'll do a private party transfer. He can buy it because he's law enforcement. He'll do a private party transfer, and then you can have, an off-roster pistol. And he got in trouble. He got indicted, took him to court, and he pled guilty to aiding and abetting. Again, that's not a reflection on our organization. That's something he did in his personal life. But what kills me about that is that roster law is something that we don't agree with. None of us agree with it. It's a horror. If he wasn't breaking the law in 49 other states, it was just here in California. These guns weren't going to criminals. He wasn't making a dime off of it. He was just saying, hey, this police officer over here is able to get you an off-roster pistol. And everybody at the time thought it was legal and until they found out it wasn't. And again, that somehow is they're using it against us, and it's like reflecting on us, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Second Amendment. It really doesn't have anything to do with us or the quality of work that we're doing. And it definitely doesn't have anything to do with the Second Amendment. And it doesn't have anything to do with restoring the Second Amendment. It doesn't have anything to do with fighting for the Second Amendment. And it's unfortunate. So I think that the toughest problem it can be boiled down to personality issues, which is getting in the way. We're going to open up L.A. County gun owners. We're going to open up San Francisco Bay Area gun owners. We're going to continue to grow Orange County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County gun owners. We have big plans. And there's a lot of we've already done a lot of great work. There's a lot of great people behind the work that we're doing. So I think that's been the biggest challenge, and it's been jarring, watching Second Amendment leaders who appear to be fighting for the Second Amendment, but in reality, their actions are that it's really just about their own ambition or their own power or their own insecurities. I don't know. We've just tried to. I tell our staff and I tell our volunteer board, hey, look, we're going to outwork them and we're going to outclass them. And that's what we continue to do every single day. We wake up and we try to be effective and we do the best job we can. And you know what? We're winning more than we're losing, and it's been really great. So the biggest challenge has been not the anti-gunners, not the moms demand action or whatever. I mean, they mouth off and do their thing, but the biggest challenge, the hardest part has actually been people who you would think would be our friends. And I never talk about this publicly. I never name names. I never talk about what organizations are doing this to us. I tell everybody, hey, support every pro Second Amendment organization out there. Support them. But if someone's bad mouthing us or has a personal issue with us, just remember that's a personal issue. It's got nothing to do with the Second Amendment, and we're not going to entertain that stuff anymore. We never really did. We're just going to continue to fight for the Second Amendment and do our best. and we're an open book. Anybody that we're a meritocracy. If you come and work hard on Second Amendment stuff, then you're going to get a lot of stuff done, and you're going to get a lot of support from us. So I think, surprisingly, that's been the hardest part, is the people that we thought were going to be our friends, the people that we think we're fighting side by side in this fight. So I encourage everybody, put that stuff away. Just fight for the Second Amendment. So that's been the toughest part. Does that surprise you?
No.
Why doesn't that surprise you?
Because, and I'm not saying anything negative about the other groups, but I think the other groups see you as much more successful than them, and I think that's based on your game plan. You spent more years on this than people know, and you're working the plan. You're not deviating. Your goal has always been the same. And it's not making a bucket load of money, because you have to sell 3 cars to buy a new Bronco. So if you had all the money, you would have already bought a Bronco. You know what I'm saying? But your goal has always been and always will be Second Amendment rights and education and training.
Well, people don't realize the heavy lift that it takes to organize people, too.
With anything.
Yeah. Well, and
really,
lawsuits are important, and lobbying is important, but trying to manage, we're up to 2,800 members, and trying to manage and organize literally thousands of people in a county, it's a lot of hands-on, unsexy work.
Yeah. But did you think my goal, what I said wasn't that your goal? Was it wrong what I said about
that? Well, so that may be the case now. They may look at us and go, "Hey, you guys are successful, and we're jealous or whatever." But I got to tell you, they started attacking us from day one. I mean, I'm talking about, a few months into our existence.
So what is it? See, they won't talk to you, but I mean, it'd be interesting to ask them, what is it about us that you don't like? What are we doing that is upsetting you?
Well, and I'll tell you this: it's not just us; it's anyone that's not them. A lot of these groups just don't play well in the sandbox together.
And that would have surprised me in the beginning when I first got involved with this stuff. But after being around for a little bit, you do see that, and it's because I always used to look at it as, okay, we're all on the same side. We should all be pushing together, to get this common goal that we have. And different groups do different things. There's groups out here that focus on the state. There's groups that focus nationally. There's us that focus locally. And we're not really duplicating one another. We're all fighting on the same side. And but again, after even meeting gun owners, there's gun owners that, I don't like that organization. I don't like this organization. And so you see it at the gun owner level too, which again, I always thought was a bad thing, because the other side seems a little more cohesive in what they're fighting for, and I think it's bad sometimes that we or that the people on our side do this.
Now, and you've been a board member for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, I think I came on like 6 months after it got started.
Okay, so 5-6 years. We'll be 6 years old in like November. Mm-hmm. So you've been around for 5 years. You and I have gotten to know each other. You've been a board member just about the whole time. We're on the radio together once a month. You and I, talk occasionally. Once a week.
You just got to be demoted.
Yeah, see, it's
how much do I? This isn't something I dwell on. I don't know. You tell me. Is this something I talk? I certainly don't bash the other side or
no,
whatever.
It isn't. And again,
if anything, you yell at me when I open my big mouth, because I'm worse than you. I don't have the patience that you have, so I will say names and I'll. You're going now, Dave, now. But you stay in that middle of the road,
Outwork them and outclass them.
I love that. That there should be a T-shirt.
Well, and that's the way to go. Because we don't, we as a cause, the cause doesn't benefit if we're going to be fighting publicly with this group or that group, and it's silly. And and being a board member, I've seen some of the things you're talking about, so I know what and who you're talking about. And it's unfortunate. I thought it was unfortunate, the couple of things that I've seen, and I'm sure I haven't seen all of it, that I thought it's a shame, to waste energy like that.
But
and
the off-road community does the same thing.
Yeah, no, part of it might be a human nature thing. Yeah. I know.
There's a lot of groups in the off-road community all trying to do the same thing and keep the deserts open, keep the land open, keep the trails open. But to try to get them all together, and now I don't think they are attacking anybody like they're attacking you.
Yeah, we have gotten attacked, and it's kind of it's it's not every day, but man, it flares up and then it goes away, and it flares up, and
it's not like you're being hypersensitive or anything. When we were at the coordinators conference, the CCW conference, someone mentioned that to me. So yeah, all these groups tend to fight or do this or do that. So I mean, they've seen it too.
Well, when we were at that conference, I got. Did you notice I got the cold shoulder?
Yes.
That was
the next table over.
The next table over. They wouldn't talk to me, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous.
You're just a big.
It's like high school.
Yeah. Well, of course.
It's like high
mean
school
girls.
never ending.
All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Sam the Gunman, and another great mic drop that you can't. We live in a state where your self-defense rights are under attack. Let us be your voice to help defend and restore the Second Amendment. Help spread the word about the fight. There's 2 easy things that you can do. 1, like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, and the podcast, or wherever you like to listen to the show. Leave us a 5-star review on your Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and it will really help us boost the show and put us in front of more people, thanks to you. All right.
All right, before we talk to my nephew on YouTube listening, M. Gabriel, welcome, and TTT, thanks for the compliment, man. It's an honor and a privilege. Appreciate
What'd you say? You were cute. Well, you're on.
That's
you're
exactly
on TV.
what he said. He just said he appreciated the good work, the hard work that we're doing, and I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. It's an honor and a privilege, and the best time I've ever had in my life. Okay, so every week we have everyone's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. We found out a few years ago that my young nephew, who just had a birthday, he's now 22, is a savant. What did we decide? We decided that Mensch wasn't right, and Whiz. Let's just call him a Whiz.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, because
he's a Whiz kid.
Whiz we didn't like, but we couldn't come up with anything better yet. So
let's just call him Sam.
Why don't we ask him what he would like to be called?
Well, we found out that he's really good at gun trivia. So if you send us gun trivia and we use it on the air, we'll give you a hat or a T-shirt. If you stump him, you get a front site membership. Sam, how you doing?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you always talk me up so much.
Well, I got to tell you, this one, I don't know. We'll see if you get this one. I've already seen next week's, though, and I'm telling you, get ready for a stump next week. Somebody wrote in an extremely hard question, but we'll start with this week. All right, Alex from Alpine. Why did the BAR rifle lose favor with the armed forces?
Alex from Alpine, thanks for writing in. Now, the BAR, or Browning Automatic Rifle, is, as the name suggests, an automatic rifle designed by John Browning. It's chambered in .30-06, typically, and feeds from a 20-round box magazine. Now, the BAR was used in a limited capacity beginning in about the 1920s. It was actually ready in time for the First World War, but they were not deployed in combat. It saw a lot of use in World War II in Korea, but it was ultimately phased out by the U.S. Army in 1957 when they completely switched over to 7.62 NATO. The idea was that the M14 would be able to pretty much replace the light automatic firepower of the BAR, and that for when more suppressive fire was needed, the M60 would do the job.
This is what they wrote. The eventual downfall of the BAR was its weight and cartridge choice. JMB chose the 30-06. That's John Moses Browning, for you playing at home. Chose a 30-06 Springfield cartridge for his gun, because that was the primary caliber of choice for the U.S. soldiers in their M1903 Springfield rifles. Ammunition compatibility between the squad-level guns meant that the soldiers in the field could share ammo between each other when supplies started running low. But while the 30-06 cartridge is a great round for killing enemy soldiers, it's an extremely heavy and bulky cartridge. A small-capacity magazine combined with the heavy ammunition was just too much to carry. In addition, in order to fire the heavy and powerful ammunition, the gun needed to be over-engineered to take the strain of full auto 30-06. That over-engineering led the rifle to be extremely overweight by today's standard, eventually replaced by the M14. I would say you got it.
Excellent!
Congratulations, Sam. Good job.
Thanks very much. Now, the Army's idea to replace pretty much everything with either the M14 or the M60, mostly the M14, was kind of dumb, and it was motivated mostly by the Ordnance Corps saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could just give everyone the same thing? That would make it a lot easier to deploy weapons. But it turns out the M14 was not a very good jack of all trades, but that's another story for another day.
So,
sounds like the same guys that planned the Afghanistan pullout.
You think? Have you ever handled a BAR?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have. I don't think I've ever held one.
No, but they're in almost every World War II movie ever made. Right?
They're frickin' heavy. They're a cumbersome. And then when we got the M14s, we thought we died and gone to heaven with the M14. But then that turned out to be heavy.
I have held an M14, and it's like a.
You fired it?
Yeah. It's like it's like carrying a big old 2x4. Man.
I know.
Actually, it's like carrying a 4x4.
Whenever our guys went on a forced march, I would take something off my tank retriever just so I didn't have to force march with my M14. I seriously had a heart attack.
So, what do you think about the SAW and M4 combination that the military currently uses?
Well, it's interesting that you should say the military currently uses that. It's actually only the Army that does that. The Marine Corps, beginning in, well, it's kind of a long story, but the Marine Corps switched from the M249 to the M27 infantry automatic rifle, which, for those of you following along at home, is a heavy-barreled HK416. It has the same controls as an M16. It uses the same magazines, most importantly. And the idea behind that decision was the Marine Corps wanted something that could provide smaller volumes of more accurate suppressive fire with greater reliability than the SAW, which is relatively unreliable, relatively inaccurate. It's heavy. It's supposed to be able to use M4 magazines, but it doesn't work well with them. But that's I'm actually in the process of writing an article about that whole thing.
I was about to say, have you thought about writing an article for Leatherneck Magazine about this?
Yeah, was that question planted?
Leatherneck Magazine, which is the
He's writing for Leatherneck Magazine?
Yeah, it's the Marine Corps' trade magazine, basically, and he's writing an article.
They must have heard our show.
Outstanding.
I know. 22 years old. This guy's going to be a published author.
Yes, he is.
All right, man. Awesome job, Sam.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks very much for having me on, as always. You guys have a good night.
You too.
And when that article is published, I'm going to make sure you guys all read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm going to frame
I can't wait. I know. This kid's so smart.
Yeah.
You guys all see where I get it from.
Clearly. Yeah, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Same DNA. You know, I went into the doctor the other day and actually got some bad news. He said that did some tests, and he said that my DNA was actually backwards. And I said, and?
Should have saved that for
let's go Melissa. Let's do the mic drop.
All right, now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, and now it's time for this week's mic drop.
Mic drop.
La Mesa is an East County city, and everyone thinks that East County San Diego is simply pro-gun, like it's expected, like it was an accident that it happened. Like most other political myths, this is simply not true. Take a look at the people La Mesa has on their city council. Mark, their mayor, Colin Parent, and their newly elected Jack Shue, none of them will stand up for your civil rights, or at least not the right to defend yourself. In fact, Shue and Parent have both pledged to further limit your right to defend yourself, proudly, as a part of their platform. The people of La Mesa elected both of them, knowing that they're anti-Second Amendment. There's one guy that'll stand up for your Second Amendment on La Mesa City Council, and that's Councilman Bill Baber. We endorsed Bill and are proud to have him there. But he's just one of 4 people on the council, and that is a little bit of a hint of what I'm about to talk about. Who's the 5th person on the city council in La Mesa? They don't have one. She was another anti-Second Amendment elected official, and she has left office to go to higher office. Yes, just like we've been saying, the reason you need to forcefully be active in local races is because those elected on local boards and councils turn into state and federal candidates. La Mesa is just another example. Now, there's going to be an election for that 5th seat. It's on November 2nd. That's just a few months away. Yes, it's extremely important to focus on the recall right now. Make sure you vote yes on September 14th or before. Make sure you get 10 people to do the same. Get out there and help get more people to do the same. Contact us if you don't know what to do or where to go. Contact Reform California online to roll up your sleeves and pitch in. They're doing a great job. But we need to get a foothold in La Mesa right after the recall election is done. If an anti-Second Amendment candidate wins in La Mesa, then another city, and this one is supposedly a pro-2A East County San Diego city, will be lost to the anti-gun lobby, rather. Expect to see unreasonable storage laws and expect to see them embrace red flag laws. Expect to see more anti-gun rhetoric that will not just affect La Mesa, but will help their county and statewide efforts to ban your guns. Pure and simple. San Diego County Gun Owners has a candidate in mind. We're going to announce that endorsement as soon as we can, but consider this message as a mark your calendar. As soon as the recall is done, we're going to ask our Second Amendment Army to march and support our La Mesa candidate. That's figuratively. We don't do marches and protests. We need you to actually be effective. And we're going to show you how. I cannot think of a city in San Diego that has seen how important your right to self-defense is more than La Mesa has in the last 16 months. But just sitting there and shaking your heads doesn't get people elected. We need your dime and we need your time. We need you to wake up on November 3rd and know that you did everything you could to make sure that La Mesa had a fighting chance, or live the rest of your life knowing you did nothing to help their victory or you did nothing to prevent their defeat. Ever vigilance is the price of liberty and living in the country of the self-governed. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Vigilance isn't just having an opinion. It means action. You give us your time. We'll make you productive. We make activism easy, but we can't do it without you. Together, we will win, and that is this week's Mic Drop.
Mic Drop.